Hello everyone, welcome to the TheFunKnow. Today's topic is going to be LCM and HCF. LCM stands for lowest common multiple and HCF stands for highest common factor. First, let's begin with LCM. LCM, which is the least common multiple. So, what is a multiple? First, we need to understand what is the multiple in LCM, least common multiple. What is the M part, multiple? So a multiple is a number that can be divided by another number a certain number of times without a remainder. Like for example, if you take 2 and you divide it by 4, you get 0 remainder. If you take 2 and divide it by 10, you get 0 remainder. Same goes for 14. So basically every number when divided, any number that if divided with 2 gives you the gives you a remainder 0 is the multiple of 2. So here it's written that multiples of 4 are all those numbers which appear in 4's timetable. This statement is true in every times table. See, for example, multiples of 5 are all those numbers which appear in 5's timetable. So any number, like for example, multiples of 4, 4 are 4, 8, 12, and so on. Every number which comes in that times table. So what is a common multiple? This part, the common part in LCM. So for to understand this, we need to understand what is a common multiple. A common multiple is a number that is a multiple of two or more numbers. Here there are two set of numbers, 4 and 5. 4, this is the fourth times table. So 4 multiplied by 1 is 4, 4 multiplied by 2 is 8, 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. Same is the case with these numbers. 5 multiplied by 1 is 5, 5 multiplied by 2 is 10, and 5 multiplied by 3 is 15, and so on. So how do we find what is a common multiple in both of these set of numbers? So you can see that the number 20 and number 40 are common. So these two numbers are the common multiple of 4 and 5. So once we understand the part of common multiple and multiple, we can move ahead with what is the lowest common multiple. So the smallest multiple that is exactly divisible by every member of a set of numbers. What that means is uh, the lowest, like for example, the lowest common multiple of 12 and 18 is 36. So to find this lowest common multiple, we use some methods. So let's start with the first method. In this, like if you want to find the common multiple of 12 and 8, like in the previous example when we used 4 and 5, we can use that same technique here. Here we can write the table of 12 and 18. 18 multiplied by 1, 18 multiplied by 2, 18 multiplied by 3, same here. 12 multiplied by 1, 12 multiplied by 2, and 12 multiplied by 3. And now we can see that there are two common numbers, the number 36. So if you keep on multiplying ahead, you will find some common numbers, but we need to find the lowest common multiple. So we take these two numbers. So 36 is the lowest common multiple of 12 and 18. That's how we found that LCM of 12 and 18 is 36. We can use another method, which is a division method. In the division method, we write both those numbers in a table and then we divided it by, first we try with the number 2. We need to find out a number which can divide both these numbers. So 2 is, we try 2. So if you divide 2 by 12, you get 6, and if you do divide 2 by 18, you get 9. You can move ahead now, but now the numbers are 6 and 9. 2 can divide 6, but 2 cannot divide 9. So we will divide 2 by 6, 3, and we'll keep the number 9 as it is. Now we have two numbers. Now we can't use 2 because 2 won't be divisible with these two numbers. So now we'll try 3. So 3 divided by 3. Now we get 1. and 3 divided by 9, we get 3. So now we have to keep doing this until the last two values should be 1 and 1. So now we'll use 3 divided by 3 and 1, and we'll keep this one as it is. So now if you want to find out the lowest common multiple, so we will multiply all these four numbers from top to bottom. 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3, and that's how we get the number 36, which is the LCM. You can see that whichever method you use, you will still get the same result. So now that we are done with the LCM part, we'll start with the HCF, which is the highest common factor. So before we understand that what is a HCF, which is highest common factor, we need to understand what is factor. So factors of number are those numbers that divide into it exactly with no remainder. For this, for example, we take 14. These numbers are the factors of 14, because if you divide 1 by 14, you get 0 remainder. If you divide 2 by 14, you get 0 remainder. Same goes with 7 and 14. So how do we find factors? First, 1 and that number itself is the factor, and then you can find which all those numbers between them, which if you divide it with that number, you get 0 remainder. That's how you find out what are the factors of a particular number. So here, for the number 12, if you take 1 divided it by 12, you get 0 remainder. Same with 2, because 2 multiplied by 6 is 12, 3 multiplied by 4 is 12. So all these give you 0 remainder. So these numbers are the factors of 12. So what is a common factor? So common factor are those factors which divide exactly into all numbers in the set. Like for example, here we have the same set of numbers. So here we need to find out two numbers which are common in both the sets, and it should also be the greatest number. So here we can see there is only one number which is common, so which is the number 2. So this number 2 is the common factor, and there is no other number. If there was, then that number would become the highest common factor, but now we only have the number 2, which is also the lowest, which is the highest, not the lowest. The lowest number would be 1, so this is the highest number. So this is your common factor. So here you can see 2 divided by 12 and 14 will give you 0 remainder. If you take 2 and you divide it by 12 or 14, you will get 0 remainder. So what is a prime number? A number that can be divided exactly only by itself and 1, and it has two factors. Here you can see factors of 5 is 1 and 5. Factors of 7 is 1 and 7. It only has two factors. One is itself and one is 1, and the other is the number 1, because 1 is factor of every number. So there are only two factors. So these are the prime numbers, 5, 7 and 13. There are more, but for this example, we'll just take the first three numbers. So what is prime factorization? So these concepts are concepts which you need to understand HCF much better. So what is prime factorization? It is a process of factoring a number in terms of prime numbers. In this example, prime factorization of 35 is 5 and 7. 5 multiplied by 7 is 35. That's how we find it out. But there is another technique. Here you can find if the number was greater, how would you find it out? So you can use this technique. First, you write that number and then you try dividing that number. So can you divide it by 2? No. Can you divide it by 3 or 4? No. So you will try 5. So if you divide it by 5, you get 7. So now you cannot divide 7 further because there are only two factors of 7, which is 1 and 7. So you take 7 and you divided it and you get 1. So you can see the same thing which we used in the previous examples. So 5 multiplied by 7 would be 35. So prime factorization of 35 is 5 multiplied by 7. Same in the example of number 12. So can you it by 2? Yes, you can divide the number 12 by 2 and you get the number 6. So you can further divide it using 2. So you will get 3. So now you cannot divide it by 2. So you try the number 3. Now 3 divided by 1. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So finally you have these three numbers. These three numbers are the prime factorization of 12, which is 2, 2 and 3. You can write it like this also, 2 square multiplied by 3. So here you are writing it in an exponential form. So 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 can also be written as 2 square multiplied by 3. So to find out HCF, there are two techniques. The first is the division method and the second is the factorization method. So if you understand the previous concepts, you can understand this much better. So to find out the HCF, let's start with the first method, which is the division method. So here we have an example. Find the HCF of 34, 50 and 12. So how do we solve this? So the first step is to select any two numbers which are the highest in the given set of numbers. So which are the highest two numbers? So you can see 34 and 50 are the highest numbers. So we take 50 and 34. So in the second step, we take the number we take the greater number and we divided it by the smaller number. Here 34 divided by 50. So how can you divide 34 by 50? So 34 multiplied by 1 is 34. So here as soon as you divide it, you get the remainder of 16 and a quotient of 1. So once this process is done, this remainder will become the divisor, and this number 34, which was the divisor, will become the dividend, and this number will come here. You will carry out this number here. So 16 divided by 34, you are supposed to divide 16 by 34. You are supposed to do this same process again and again until you get the number 0. So 16 multiplied by 2 is 32. So if you divide 16 by 34, you will get you will get this number, which is you will get the remainder 2. So now you will carry the number 16 from the previous step and you carry it over here. Now you will take 2 and you will divide it by 16. So 2 multiplied by 8 is 16. So here 16 minus 16 and you will get 0. So this problem is ended over here, and now you have found out that is the number 2 is the HCF of 50 and 34. So now that we have found out that uh, but we are supposed to find out the HCF of all the three numbers. So one number still remains, the number 12. So we are supposed to do the same task, same technique on number 12. We take number 12 and we use the previous number which we got the HCF of 50 and 34, which we got 2, and we take 2 and we divided it by 12. So 2 multiplied by 6 is 12. So you get 0. So this problem is ended over here. So you can see that the HCF of 12 is also 2, and the HCF of 34 and 50 is also 2. Therefore HCF of 34, 50 and 12 is 2. So let's begin with the second method, which is the factorization method. So we use the same set of numbers 34, 50, and 12. And in this in this technique, you can see that if you multiply 2 by 17, you get 34. If you multiply 2 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5, you get 50. So how did we find this? So we use this technique. You can see you take 34, you write it over here, and then you divided it by 2 and you get 17. Now 17 cannot be further divided, so you take 17 with the same number and you divide it by 17 and you get 1. Same technique we use with 12. 2 divided by 12 is 6, and same with 2 divided by 6 is 3. And now you cannot use 2, so you use 3. So 3 divided by 3 and you get 1. So we just take these two numbers on the left side. You can see 2 multiplied by 17, 2 multiplied by 17, 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3. That's how we found the prime factorization. So once you find it out, now the next step is to find the most common number, which is in all three of them. So there is only one number, so it is the number 2. So 2 is in all three numbers. So 2 is the HCF of 34, 50, and 12.